Hey guys, Doug and Jamie, Pinetree Productions, and we're here. We're not quarantined or anything, but we are practicing social distancing. And Jamie, how you been?
Hello. Hey Douglas, what's up, brother?
How you been?
Oh man, I'm telling you, well, I haven't seen you in forever. It seems like.
True.
Yeah, it's the whole world is like changed for everyone, right? And everybody's trying to do their part. We're trying to kick this COVID-19. Like, I mean, it's scary, Doug. Unfortunately, my job, I'm an essential worker, and I have to go to work, and it's stressful, man. Like, I mean, I'm worried, but we got things in place at work that we're all trying to be safe. We're trying to keep our physical distance for sure, and washing our hands, and like, just everybody doing their part, right? So we don't want to bring this home for sure. I haven't been to Tim Hortons in over 2 weeks.
Oh.
So, like, I mean, that's
a big thing for you. You're gonna survive, trust me. One of the big things too is I'm also working and considered an essential worker. And although I'm not around a whole lot of people, of course I have my concerns about anybody that you come in contact with. Just so much as going to get fill a tank with gas, going to a grocery store, anything like that. I'm sure it's the same concerns that you people have wherever you live. It's definitely some scary stuff, and now I know, Jamie, it's affected things we do, and it's affected just everyday life. But certainly, what role do you think the outdoors is playing in this? Because I have my take on it, and I was wondering what you thought about that.
Well, okay, so the last couple weeks I have been getting out fishing. Obviously, I'm going out to kind of remote areas. I went up north to fish some specks just last week. But like I said, where I was, there's nobody around. And like if you plan smart enough, you can get out there. You can do your thing. You can go for on hikes. Just plan your things accordingly to areas that are not well traveled. Because if you go to an area where there's a lot of people, like, I mean, yeah, they're trying to clamp down. I see in Toronto they're having a hard time. Their parks, they're trying to close them, but they still have a lot of people in that area. And you know what? I keep thinking those people in Toronto must have a really difficult time trying to get their distance and trying to still get their walks in, their physical activities. I get out in the middle of the lake and I'm in my own little world, and there's nobody around me, and that's I'm still getting in the outdoors. I'm still doing my thing, but I'm distancing myself from everybody.
Now, the one advantage that you have and that I have living in Ontario is they haven't closed down things where you're quarantined to your house unless you absolutely have to go out. They are suggesting to stay home. They are starting to close public places in terms of parks and city-run stuff and provincial parks and whatnot. They did put a fire ban on just this past Friday, which also takes a lot of the issue of maybe people getting together to have a get-together, have a fire together, which is a common thing that we do. Of course, and that affects kind of stuff that we like to do in the outdoors as well. Other countries, I've been keeping up with other countries, and they are forced to stay home, and they don't have the ability to really get out unless it's for something essential. So I think right now we're pretty lucky in Ontario that we've been able to we can move around. We can still kind of do our own thing. We are doing our best, of course, and you and I, Jamie, are doing our part in terms of social distancing, and hopefully others will too. Again, like you mentioned, a big populace like Toronto with 4 million people, it's pretty hard to get some space, but I'm sure just getting outside for some fresh air and a walk is extremely meaningful right now, and I think that's why our message has been all along to get outside. And now I think people are realizing when they're kind of forced to be inside, how important, how special it is to get outdoors. And when you can't do it, or you don't have the ability to do it, it hurts.
And the campfire thing is a huge thing, Doug. I'll touch on that for a second, because anyone in the outdoors community knows that, like, without a fire going, wow, like, I mean, for heat, for cooking, it's really tough, because if you're going to go plan an outing and you're going to go out camping, man, I'm telling you, without that campfire, it's tough.
Yeah, you're not going camping. How are you going to go on a canoe trip or anything like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you can use propane gas, butane, stuff like that. But I mean,
burner,
that's only going to go so far in terms of safety and stuff like that too. if you're in a canoe and you were to tip and you had to dry out, that little stove isn't. It's going to take a long time before you're drying out, and hypothermia could be an issue. So yeah, the fire thing changes everything. I think for the average outdoorsman or outdoorswoman. Yeah, it's a tough go, and we're in for some tough times because we're not sure how long this is going to last.
Yeah, and you know what's scary about this too, Doug, is it's a danger that you can't see. Like, I mean, it's if people can see danger in front of them, they're more apt to act accordingly to it. But
Absolutely.
when you don't see the hazard right in front of you, and that's how you get people that are like, oh, I'm going out and I'm going to do my own business and do my thing and I don't care what. It's because they don't see that danger that's right in front of them. Firefighter for 11 years, whenever I was on a call, you saw that danger right in front of you. This is way scarier than anything that I had to deal with. So, and I know you touched on this on your last video there, Doug, but hats off to the frontline workers, the nurses, the doctors. Man, they are courageous men and women out there. And
even people working grocery stores and working in any essential service, and there's quite a few essential services, and you realize how much we depend on those people, and a lot of those people are making minimum wage, and they're not making a good wage. But right now, I mean, these people are providing such a huge service to all of us, and truck drivers is another group. I mean, there's so many people. I don't want to miss anybody, but certainly they're making a huge difference, huge impact right now, and we can't thank them enough, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, it would. You'd be hard pressed. People, there's a lot of people out there that are prepared for stuff like this when it happens, but there are so much more people out there that aren't prepared for any of this. People will think twice, definitely going down the road. When this is all done, I think you'll see people going about their lives a little bit differently, because they'll be making sure that they're well prepared in the future if this happens again.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the things we don't talk about a lot in our videos, or we haven't up to now, is the fact that we do believe in preparedness, and we do take steps in our own lives to be prepared. And I got a generator, and I got a get home bag and stuff like that. Just small things, but stuff that could be important, especially if the grid went down. And certainly, I think the impact if we, for some reason, there's no power or food, that would completely change how communities are handling and countries are handling this pandemic. Thankfully, we're not in that position.
Well, it's funny because when you and I go out and we do an outing for a weekend or whatever, we have so much stuff that we're getting prepared and getting ready. Now, can you imagine that for 6 months? You'd have to have a lot of stuff ready at your disposal.
No, and I think for the most part, people try to be ready for something that may impact 2-3 days, maybe 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
A natural disaster of some kind, earthquake, hurricane, tornado, grid down situation due to a storm, something like that, where you may have a 24-hour period of 48 where you don't have power. That's what most people prepare for. Something like this is completely different, like you're saying. How do you prepare for potentially something that's going to go on for 4, 5, 6 months?
Yeah, and you know what? We're not even going to the grocery stores right now. We just did our last grocery order. Actually, we picked it up yesterday. So I'm just letting people know out there right now that if you went to Walmart on their website, you can sign up and you can put in your order right online, and they tell you exactly when they're going to pick it and when it's going to be ready. And they will actually real time send you messages, and if they can't fill a certain item that you've actually ordered, and they have something else in place of it, it's phenomenal, because showed up, pulled into the lane, put the food right in the trunk, away you go. You don't have to see anybody. I'm telling you, I think, Doug, going down the road, I think this is going to change a lot. I think a lot of people are going to start taking advantage of the picking up their food when it's already been picked for them. And even, I know the Independent in South End, too, you can have it delivered as well in Sudbury.
Right.
So I think things are going to change down the road on how people go about their daily business, for sure.
Yeah, I would think that people are going to change everything. How you greet people, even by shaking their hand. How close you get to people that you don't know. Some of the local pizza places, if you pay for your order online, they'll drop it off on your doorstep, and so you don't have to communicate with anybody or get close to anybody. And I think Jamie, you're right. It's going to completely change the way the world works in the future and how we interact with each other. And I don't necessarily think it's it's going to be for the positive in one sense, but in another way, I don't think we have a choice.
We have to look after people. You make sure that your family is taken care of, and it's a tough time right now, Doug. It's just
Speaking about your mom.
Oh yeah, so last weekend was her birthday, and
Okay.
I'm just saying with the physical distancing, we didn't get together, and that was tough.
Yeah.
It was upsetting. But you got to do your part. I called her. You could do FaceTiming like this. Make sure everything's okay, and stuff like that. We are planning to try and get together and maybe go for a walk, a strategic walk where we're apart from each other, maybe the other side of the road. But, you got to be careful. I worry about my mother because she's getting up there in age. And,
Yeah, and my dad had mentioned about getting together this weekend, and
it's scary, Doug.
yeah, and of course I said no, and I think he's a little down about it, but he has to realize, I'm still working, my girlfriend is still working, she's an essential service as well. For that reason, we're both having to interact with other people, and you don't know who those other people are interacting with outside of work and stuff like that.
It's tough because people we're not prepared. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the last virus that's going to sweep the globe, so I think moving forward, that's why things definitely have to change.
But there's so many people that travel, Doug, around the world, and it's tough, man. It doesn't matter where the virus starts in the world. It just takes one person to start moving around, and then that virus jumps from one person to two person to 10 to 12 to 20, and that's how it spreads.